Thank you. I'd love to have a conversation about thoughts turning to things. And
Thoughts turn to things.
yeah.
They just do. All of them do. Every single one of them turns to something more, something more, something more, something more, something more. Okay. It's the natural way of things. It's why you're here.
Yeah. And I've heard you talk about it many, many times. Well, first I want to ask, where's the book? I'd love to have the first copy of that book, Thoughts Turning to Things. Is that still happening?
Well, it's not really any of your business. And it's sort of coming from a lackful perspective, and it's sort of putting Esther on the spot just a little bit. Well,
I love her. Don't tell her. I love her, and I know it's going to be.
Here's the thing.
When it's ready.
Just about every Saturday of the world, Esther delivers a book to you.
Yeah, I know.
So just listen and read it and appreciate that.
I do.
Yeah.
I so appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. The other thing, well, thoughts turning to things. So every thought does turn to a thing.
Law of attraction makes the vibration more and more and more and more and more and more and more. And the more the vibration becomes more, then the more the potential perceivers of it are able to perceive it. So eventually a vibration can gain enough momentum that someone perceptive will perceive it as a thought. They'll get an idea or an impulse. And if that continues, or as that continues, as it always does, then some can begin to receive sentences or words or impulses about it. But it just becomes more and more and more. And rather than trying to define it as a vibration and a bigger vibration and then an impulse and then a word and then an action and then an object, let's just call it bigger, 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 bigger. Because sometimes a thought can give you an emotion that has much greater impact and value to you than words. So let's not nitpick over what it's becoming in terms of what you can see. Let's pay attention to how it feels as it is becoming, which is your way of knowing how much of its becoming you are allowing yourself to perceive. How much of what is becoming am I allowing myself to perceive?
And then to realize, right?
And do I need to get together with a group and talk about it and put words around it? Or is it satisfying for me just to know it? So what's the reason for the conversation about turning thoughts to things?
For me, it's been really valuable to understand thought am I feeding? What thought am I energizing? What thought am I, does it feel good? Does this thought feel good? If it doesn't, then that means I want to feed a different thought.
Remember the conversation that we just had about all the piles and all the subject, and then we were encouraging just 2 piles, aligned or not. And so let's do that with thoughts. Rather than the thoughts being all these different subjects, let's just ask, is this thought about whatever subject it is good feeling or not? Because what you come around to understand is that, see, this is not the easiest thing for people, we love you so much, to really get. They still, after all this conversation, think that the point is for the thought to get big enough that it becomes a thing. And when really the whole point of it is that the thought become perceived enough that it produces a satisfying moment. Things don't have to manifest in order to have been of great value to you. So then let's say, what's a manifestation anyway? Manifestation is the moment of perception. And what's really kind of interesting about it is everything everyone wants, they want because they think they'll feel better in having it. So maybe feeling better is the manifestation that everybody was looking for anyway. And maybe we shouldn't try to hold other people responsible for what they are or are not manifesting, Esther, in your book. And instead, we're just looking for whatever in this box store moment feels good to us.
So the distinction for me is understanding the difference between manifestation and materialization, because I think manifestation can be it can be a thought, it can be a feeling, it can be an experience, it can be a perception. I think a lot of people expect a manifestation to be something that's materialized, where they can see it, touch it, taste it, feel it, and hear it.
We will say this: you came into an environment where things become evolved enough, with enough momentum, that you are able to perceive them through your more highly developed vibrational interpreters. That's all your senses are. They are highly developed vibrational interpreters. And as humans, You like to see it and hear it and smell it and taste it and touch it because you think others are doing it too, and it helps you with your insecurity. There's something to think about. Do I need to manifest it so that others can confirm that it has been created? That's not really the best plan. Or is the manifestation of it just more delicious? Well, we think it is. We think being in love and wrapping yourself around someone is more delicious than just holding the idea of it in your mind. Getting into a high-powered muscle car that has the ability to do whatever you can conceive that you would like to ask it to do is more satisfying than playing with the computer version of it. Anything that includes more of your physical perceptions is more. And don't you know that by the way you feel about it? People send Esther pictures of beautiful sunsets almost every day, but none of them feel like the sunset she's looking at, because her ability to perceive it in the moment is more than this. And so everyone just gets to decide that felt better than that, and that felt better than that, and that felt better than that. So if we're standing in your physical shoes, our intention would be to make the very best of every moment in time, knowing that every moment in time has the potential for extraordinary exponential expansion. Every moment in time. So what are you working on? You're working on your ability to perceive the bigness of a moment. So let's say that you've been inside. So just follow these thoughts just a little bit. We're going to take you on a sort of a opening, expanding mental journey. So imagine or see yourself inside a building, and you've been there most of the day. And you've enjoyed being there because you're like our friend. You've focused upon positive aspects, and you've just had a great day, and you're tuned in, and you saw the world today, even though you were indoors, through the eyes of Source. And so you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and you feel very, very good. So now you step outside, and outside is different. First of all, you can see way, way further, and there's way more atmosphere for you to perceive, and the sky's doing its thing, and so are the plants, and so are whatever's going on out there. But it's a bigger and broader experience. So in and of itself, you might say it could be more, but for most people, in its bigness, it becomes less, because your ability to focus, because of the expansiveness of it, makes you less likely to focus on any part of it. So it's a bigger experience, but it's more general, because you can't take it all in, or can you? So then, as you acknowledge that here you are, a human, standing on earth, looking out. You've been inside, now your perspective has changed, now you're outside. Could you ask your connection with your inner being, to perceive what's out there in ways you haven't perceived before? Could you actually see in the atmosphere things that you've not seen before? Do your eyes have the ability to translate vibration into rainbows or stratas or northern lights or colors or textures that most people who aren't using the technique of inner sight to see? Could you see something more? You might put it on a painting, and you might die, and you might be Van Gogh, and they might say, oh, that was good. They say, what's so good about that? I saw it every night I went outside. You have the ability to perceive more in every moment. This is a conversation of thoughts turning to things. So what you perceive isn't about what's out there, because everyone who goes out there sees something different. And what they see has to do with their vibrational alignment with their inner being. Esther walked to the gate to open it for Jerry, and was in a different state of consciousness and didn't know it, because she'd walked down the gravel driveway and opened the farm gate just like always. She was going through the same physical humaning motions that she had gone through hundreds of times before, but this time she was in a different vibrational state of being, and she heard sounds coming out of birds that only angel ears can hear. She saw in the sky things that only angel eyes can see. She smelled fragrances that nobody's nose in the county was getting. the air on her skin was different than the way most people were perceiving this moment in time. And she could feel the bigness and the difference in this moment in time. And she said, Abraham, it's you, isn't it? And we said, you've caught us again. Peeping through your eyes, smelling through your nose, listening through your ears. But the difference was, we do that every day of the world with Esther and everyone else. The difference was, Esther was a vibrational state of being that she got in on it. So her perception expanded to the precision of what we were perceiving, you see. This is turning thoughts to things too, isn't it? So we don't ever want to give you the impression that there is a reality that you are going to discover. We do want to give you the absolute knowing that there's a reality that you and your inner being are creating. And when you create it and then you let yourself witness it,
It's like euphoria.
yeah.
That's the way it feels. It's so funny that the rainbows, I saw 8 rainbows last Saturday after the workshop, and it just felt everyone was so different and so like perception of seeing them. I had never seen rainbows that way before, and I've seen a lot of rainbows, and I was definitely flying high and definitely perceiving things that I hadn't been able to perceive before. And that's been a common theme lately, seeing things that are new for the first time, or having experiences that my eyes wouldn't let me experience. So I completely can relate to that.
Let's say that there is an atmosphere that's conducive to rainbows, which usually means, in simple terms, there's a lot of moisture in the air and sun too, sun and shade, which produces different vantage points in order to see rainbows. But beyond that, the angle of your eye when you look, the placement of you on the street, the timing of the direction from which you approached it, which side of the sun you're on. There are so many things that you might study rainbows enough to know, but you can't study rainbows enough to know and be diligent enough in your moving around in city traffic in order to be there, but your inner being can.